Welcome to the Success with Jewelry podcast, where we invite you inside our conversations about business success and marketing for jewelry designers and entrepreneurs.
We're Laryssa and Liz, jewelry marketing experts with a combined 16 years of experience in jewelry marketing and proven track records in helping jewelry brands meet their goals. When you listen to or watch this podcast, you get an intimate and exclusive peek behind the curtain of all the things you wish you could know about earning success in this industry.
Welcome to episode 78. In this episode, Laryssa and I are going to audit the marketing for our podcasts. We'll share what we're doing wrong and how we can improve. We also want to tell you about our insider community. When you join, you'll have access to extended episodes full of tips that you can start implementing today and further resources about each topic we discuss. In the bonus content of this episode, we'll share how you can audit your own marketing. To get access to exclusive content as well as direct access to me and Laryssa, sign up by visiting successwithjewelry.com. Hey, Laryssa, let's get into it.
This is going to be a fun one, I think.
This is going to be fun. I even wrote it in the outline. I think this will be fun.
And we're not perfect, just so everyone knows.
You know, and we love doing this podcast, but it is at the bottom of both our to-do lists. And I say that in the most loving way of all of you listeners as possible, but it's not our first priority.
No, it's not, because we have marketing for our own actual businesses. We have marketing for all our clients, and all that stuff has to be first.
It does. It just does, because the podcast isn't making us very much money yet.
No, it's not paying my rent, that's for sure.
I don't think it's even covering like groceries, but I don't think it's even covering my like coffee, my monthly coffee budget. I think that, anyway, that's besides the point. We're not in this for the money. We're in this for sharing the education, for connecting with the community, for, talking about marketing, which is something we love to do.
Exactly. So let's start with what we're doing right. Let's be positive.
Let's be positive. Let's start here. So what we're doing right is consistency. We are showing up every single week. I don't think we've missed a week yet without like planning for it or announcing it or having some sort of filler or something. I don't think we've ever missed a week. And we've been doing this for about like a year and a half?
Yeah. And I think the way we're able to do that is planning. We're like semi okay at planning, but we're there kind of.
We are. And I think that we're clear on what we want, the information we want to share with this podcast. And we're clear on the topics that we want to talk about and that we do want to put out an episode every week. So I think that having that kind of clarity on what our goals are is helpful. And from like showing up to create this content of the podcast, it makes it easy to show up weekly with emails. It makes it easy to show up with at least one social media post to announce the episode. So all of those things kind of come from the consistency of us showing up and making the podcast every week.
And I think one thing that helps us with that, because both me and Liz are really busy, like Liz has a kid, like we all have clients, like our schedules are crazy and they're also not necessarily consistent every week, is like we kind of have a standing time when we're going to do this for the most part every week. And so no matter what else is going on in our lives, like we know this is something we pretty much have to show up for.
Right. And I think that I was talking to a designer about consistency in the past week or so, and I was like, put it on your calendar, like have a marketing Monday. I've said it before. I'll say it again, just put it on your calendar. If you choose not to do it then, or if you choose to only spend like half the time you have blocked off on it, that's fine. But at least it's there and it has you thinking about what you need to be doing.
And if you struggle with that, have an accountability partner. I mean, if I had to like show up for this by myself, I don't know if I would do it all the time.
I mean, I've been mostly left to my own devices with our Instagram, which we'll get to in the what we're doing wrong section. And I'm barely showing up. But the fact that we record this podcast together and we keep each other accountable, I think that is super helpful.
Yeah. And we also make it fun because we have a like friendly little chat. So like find a friend, have an accountability partner, bring some fun into it, get coffee or whatever the heck you want to do, and have a standing date with them.
Yes, I love that. So the other thing that I think we do right is we listen to the audience. So if ever we hear from someone, oh, I'd love to hear about this topic, or, this is what I'm worried about, or this is what I'm thinking about, we tend to like pretty quickly put an episode together about it. We
Mhm.
love hearing from our audience, and we love choosing topics based on feedback.
Yeah, and so we're very in touch with the target audience. And it does help that both me and Liz actually work with that audience like outside of the podcast, so we're bringing that knowledge as well, but it's a big factor in what we're doing right.
Yeah, a lot of our ideas come from real things that are happening. And that's what I do with the Stay Gold Collective too, is that I like to kind of not plan stuff out too far in advance because I like to be a little bit dynamic with
Mhm.
what everybody's thinking about at that current moment or what makes sense to talk about at that time.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Having a loose plan, but being open to change.
Having a plan, having goals, knowing who you are and what you want to do, but also being a little flexible.
Mhm.
Also, I think responding. I think, whenever we get questions, which is not that often, and we welcome them in the Mighty Network platform and that community or on the Instagram page, we always respond pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, also, I just thought of another thing. We did kind of have that in-person situation in August in New York. It wasn't like all about our podcast, but I think having that in-person engagement, the community aspect, like helps a lot too.
It does help a lot. And I know that there's people out there listening because I've heard from a lot. I hear from, people all the time who listen that this is a point of connection for them and a really helpful resource. And that's why we keep doing this. Um, but maybe in August we'll do another meetup because I think that that's a really important thing of what we're doing. It's like we want to be a connection point. We want to build a community around what we're doing.
Definitely.
And then I think another thing that we do well is cross promoting, and we have more plans for this in the future, but bringing on guests to cross promote with what they're doing and cross promote with their podcasts and things like that. I think that that's kind of one of our strategies to grow and to get more awareness out there and to get more listeners is to interview people who are also out there podcasting or out there talking to jewelry designers and being experts in the industry.
Yes. And that's something we recommend to our clients. It's like find other businesses that target your target audience and do something collaborative with them. Obviously, we're doing it in a podcast format, but the same concept can be applied in other ways too.
Definitely. I spoke with a listener earlier this week, and she said she had collaboration on her like idea list of things she wanted to do because of this podcast. And I think that's really great that people are listening to the podcast, but like really listening and taking ideas from it.
That's amazing. I love to hear that.
Yeah, it's really great. So now let's get into what we're doing wrong, which there's much more things we're doing wrong in terms of promoting this podcast and the marketing for it. And I hear from designers a lot, and Laryssa, I know you do too, because we were talking about this before we started recording, but it comes down to not having enough time and it kind of falling off the to-do list. And there's a lot of ways to remedy that. One would be like really planning in advance and or putting on my calendar or because I'm the one who's dropping the ball on this Instagram. Putting on my calendar, like, oh, focus on the Success with Jewelry Instagram, even if it's like 20 minutes on a Monday or
Mhm.
whatever it is, maybe that could get me in gear. So actually I'm gonna take that advice and do that.
That's a hard thing. I mean, that's advice that, like you said, that we give to other people. But as we said, I think we have a good excuse. It's like not our main business because Liz, for your business Instagram and me for my business marketing, like we're on the ball, like
For the most part, yeah, we
for the
are.
most part.
We're out there, we're doing it. I posted twice today.
Oh,
So
wow.
I know. Anyway, so I think that that is the biggest thing that we're missing with our marketing for this podcast is that we grew a following pretty well. We have 1,000 Instagram followers. We have 100+ email subscribers. We have 250 community members. Thank you so much if you are one of these people in one of these numbers. We appreciate you so much. But we simply post the information for the new episode. And outside of that, we're not doing much else. And I think part of that is just kind of like, and a lot of people are feeling this right now too, is like just the lack of engagement. But my advice to somebody who's like, oh, well, I'm not doing it because I'm not getting engagement would be to keep doing it and stay consistent, and you will start to get engagement. And so I just need to give myself that advice too.
Yeah, and also, I mean, both of us can brainstorm like different types of content that we can post on Instagram, even if it's just a regular feature that happens every week, like bringing some diversity into the content too.
And I think that, being like a more like an audio platform, like, and not having visuals has thrown me off because I'm so used to working with images and working with,
Mhm.
having a product you can photograph and things like that, that it's hard for me to figure out and think outside of the box of like what kind of imagery we should be sharing. Like I have things we could say, but it's like not having that photo sometimes is what stops me from being able to post. And I know that like a lot of designers might feel that too, is like, oh, well, I don't have any new photos. I don't have any fresh photos. I'm bad at taking photos. And that's like that point that stops them from promoting. And I can completely relate to that. It's tough.
Maybe we should do an Instagram live every week, like either before or after we record, so that we're already together and we already have the time blocked off and we just do like 10 minutes on whatever like that week's topic is or something.
That's a really fun idea. That's a fun idea. I don't know why it makes me tired to think about, but
Like short, super
sure.
short. And then you can post it to the profile so there's something else there.
That's a great idea. That's such a good idea. Some other ideas I had while I was brainstorming for this outline, because again, the biggest missed opportunity I think is Instagram, because we do have 1,000 followers there, over 1,000 followers there. And we really only started it 2 years ago. So um, okay, audio posts too with clips. Laryssa, I just found in Canva the coolest template where you can
Oh,
put an image in and then drop audio over it, and it'll show like the little audio, what do you call it, the sound wave, and then it will show the caption. It'll roll the caption too.
I didn't know this existed.
It's very cool. I was inspired by New York City Jewelry Week. They just did a great post with like a clip from the Gem Awards. And I was like, where is this? And I found it on Canva, a template.
That's
So
awesome. That's really good to know, actually. That would be good for designers who don't want to show their face on camera, but want to add like a more personal element to like a picture, having like a voiceover
I
talking
love the
about it.
voiceover. I think it's great. People do really connect with that. Like I said, I talked to a listener earlier this week, and another thing she said to me outside of like wanting to collaborate was, it is so cool to talk to you because I feel like I know you because I've listened to your podcast so much.
Yeah, I've heard that before too.
So it is a point of connection. You don't necessarily need to be showing your face if that feels uncomfortable to you.
Another thing we could do is each of us separately can record like a short video about our own remarks about like the week's episode, and you could post those. That could be 2 reels right there.
That could be 2 reels right there. You're totally right. You're really good at putting your face out there. I'm okay at it. I do get a little bit squirmy about the whole thing.
Honestly, I just do it because I can't, not that I can't think of anything else, but I have like not brain space to think of
I know that's like
anything.
the hardest thing. Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh, I'll just pose myself because that's the easiest thing I can do.
That I hope this episode isn't coming across complainy because we love doing this and we are
It's
very grateful.
realistic.
Yes, it is real. I hope you can relate. I hope listeners can relate here. But other ideas I had were like sharing tips or like, little quote graphics, which is what we did when we first launched the podcast. But for whatever reason, that takes a lot to like pull out like a quote that feels profound enough.
Mhm.
Um, Behind the scenes, like I've posted my microphone before, or like us getting ready to record and things like that, or the jewelry I'm wearing while we record. But my favorite idea of what I had when I was brainstorming was listener features. And then we could pull an image of a listener's jewelry and maybe like a little quote from them and shout them out and feature them. And I thought that would be really fun.
I like that idea too.
I think
One
that's a
thing I should do, and this is like not even about us like doing the marketing or not doing the marketing. I think what would help is for me, since I edit the podcast, I need a better process of like while I'm doing it and even for a few minutes afterward, like I could get an AI transcript of the podcast and maybe quick pull quotes. And that like sets you up for success. But the place it's breaking down is I don't have a process in place for that, so I don't think to do it.
You know what we should do? After you edit the episode and put it on the YouTube, I should take it and do the transcript because I have a program that does that, the one that you recommended. What is
Yeah,
it called?
Otter. Mhm.
Otter. I pay for that. I could do that, get the transcript, and then I could pull a quote or pull a clip of text. Yeah,
You
we need
could
to figure.
even, and I've done this before because I'm not lazy. I just am very busy sometimes. I will copy the transcript from Otter as raw as it is because it's messy sometimes. And I go into ChatGPT and I say, hey, ChatGPT, pull out like a few highlights from this. And it will literally tell you like what is the most interesting parts of the transcript. And that way you don't even have to read it.
I don't need to read it. I was there.
Exactly. But sometimes you got to like remind yourself,
Totally. Yeah, we need to figure out our system. I think that would be incredibly helpful. And then also just in general, like regular questions or requests for engagement. We need to ask for testimonials more. I don't think we've gotten a testimonial like written for us in over a year, even though I
Yes.
hear them like at least once or twice a week from people who do listen to the podcast. So anyway, if you want to leave us a testimonial, or if you don't want to like post it or like go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anything like that, if you just want to DM me what you like about the podcast, like that is great too. Whatever's easiest for you, we'd love to hear what you're thinking.
What I'm taking away from this is that we just need like an SOP for the whole thing
We
that we
need an
follow
SOP.
that sets us up for success. So we don't have to every week be like, oh crap, we should have liked on that.
Yeah, we should edit our outro to like ask for testimonials too.
Yes. We're going to take the transcript of this podcast and have it make a to-do list.
Totally. By the way, SOP is a standard operating procedure, just for anybody who doesn't know what that is. But the last thing I'll say that we haven't done that I think I've been telling Laryssa I'm going to do this for like the past 6 months at least is a press push. We've never done like a big press push for the podcast. And I think that's because I'm always like pushing, like I'm always like, outreaching press for other things. And again, this falls to the back burner. But
Yeah,
I think that we have had a great mention in store, but I think we could get more than that and let the industry know that we exist would probably be a good thing.
exactly. We cannot assume that people know we exist. We have to tell them.
We have to tell them. So, have you ever audited your marketing? Let us know. Visit successwithjewelry.com and we'd love to know what you're thinking. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks for being a part of our community.